I first heard about Villa di Corliano while sitting in a crowded cafe in Florence. A fellow traveler, an older man with silver hair and a faint accent, leaned over and whispered, "If you're brave, visit the villa in Pisa. But beware, it's not for the faint-hearted." Intrigued, I pressed him for details. The man's eyes twinkled with both excitement and caution as he spoke of the estate's reputation. "It's not just history," he said. "It's alive. People have seen things, heard whispers, felt touches in empty halls. They say the past never left." That was all it took to hook me. As a lover of history and the paranormal, I knew I had to see it for myself. A quick online search revealed the villa was open to visitors, its haunting tales just as famous as its Renaissance architecture. The next morning, I boarded a train to Pisa, my heart racing with anticipation. The villa loomed like a sleeping giant as I approached. The golden hues of its ancient walls shimmered in the afternoon sun, framed by cypress trees that seemed to stand guard. It was majestic yet foreboding, its silence louder than the rustle of the wind through the olive groves. Marco, the villa's current caretaker, greeted me at the entrance. He was a lean man with weathered hands and a gentle smile, though his eyes seemed to carry the weight of countless untold stories. "You've chosen an interesting place to visit," he said, leading me inside. The interior was stunning. High ceilings adorned with frescoes told tales of gods and mortals. The furniture, though faded with age, whispered of grandeur. But beneath the beauty was an air of stillness that sent a shiver down my spine. "The villa is centuries old," Marco explained as we walked. "It has seen noble families, artists, scholars, and tragedies." He paused, glancing at me. "Do you believe in spirits?" I hesitated. "I'm open to the idea." He smiled knowingly. "Good, that will help." My room was exquisite. Large windows overlooking the gardens, a four-poster bed, and an antique wardrobe that seemed to hold secrets of its own. Yet as the evening crept in, the atmosphere changed. The warmth of the day faded, replaced by an inexplicable chill. At midnight, I heard it. Footsteps. Soft, deliberate, and pacing outside my door. My pulse quickened as I sat up, straining to listen. The steps grew louder, then stopped abruptly. Summoning my courage, I opened the door. The hallway was empty. But as I stood there, a cold draft brushed past me, and for a moment I swore I heard a whisper. A faint, sorrowful sigh. The next morning, Marco seemed unsurprised when I told him. "That would be Teresa," he said simply. "Teresa?" "Teresa Scholastica della Seta Gaetani Bocca," he explained. "She lived here in the 18th century, the youngest daughter of the family. She loved this villa more than life itself." "And after life?" I asked, half joking. He nodded solemnly. "She's still here." Determined to uncover the truth, I spent the day exploring the villa. Marco told me stories of Teresa, how she was said to have died young, heartbroken over a forbidden love. Her spirit, they claimed, refused to leave her beloved home. As I wandered through the grand hall, I felt it again, that eerie stillness. I paused by an old portrait, its surface darkened with age. The figure in the painting was unmistakable, a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Beneath it was a plaque, Teresa Scholastica della Seta Gaetani Bocca. That night, I couldn't resist. I stayed up, determined to encounter her again. The footsteps returned, louder this time, echoing through the halls. Then, a faint glow appeared at the end of the corridor. She was there, a figure bathed in soft light, her outline shimmering like a reflection on water. She wore a flowing gown, her hair cascading down her back. Her face was pale but serene, her eyes filled with a sorrow that was almost tangible. "Teresa," I whispered. She turned to me, her expression unreadable. Slowly, she raised a hand and pointed toward a door at the far end of the hall. I followed her gesture, my heart pounding. The door creaked open as I approached, revealing a small room filled with dust-covered relics, an old diary, a silver locket, and a faded ribbon. The diary was fragile, its pages yellowed with age. Inside were entries written in delicate handwriting. Teresa spoke of her love for the villa, her dreams of freedom, and her anguish over being forced into an arranged marriage. Her last entry was chilling. I cannot leave, not even in death. This villa is my heart, my prison, my home. As I read, the air grew colder. I looked up, and there she was, standing by the window. Her gaze met mine, and for a fleeting moment, I felt her sadness wash over me like a tide. As I closed the diary, the room grew colder. I turned, and there she was, Teresa. Her figure was faint, almost translucent, but her presence was undeniable. She wore a white gown, and her eyes were filled with sorrow. "Why are you here?" I whispered, my voice trembling. She didn't speak, but she raised a hand and pointed to the window. Through it, I could see the gardens, bathed in moonlight. It was as if she wanted me to follow her. In the garden, I found an old gravestone hidden beneath overgrown bushes. The name on it was hers, Teresa Scholastica della Seta Gaetani Bocca. Beneath her name was an inscription, forever bound to the place she loved. As I stood there, I felt a strange sense of peace. It was as if Teresa was finally at rest, her story told, her memory preserved. Even after leaving the Villa di Corliano, I couldn't shake the memories of my stay. The image of Teresa's sorrowful figure lingered in my mind, her story replaying like a vivid dream. Though I had promised myself to move on, something compelled me to dig deeper into the villa's history. Back home, I delved into archives and old manuscripts. Surprisingly, I found a wealth of information about the Scholastica family, their wealth and their tragic decline. The villa had been passed down for generations, but it seemed that Teresa's death marked the beginning of its fall from grace. The more I read, the clearer it became that Teresa's story was more than just a romantic tragedy. Rumors hinted at dark rituals and secretive gatherings hosted by her family. Could these be tied to the restless spirits that haunted the villa? Unable to resist the pull of unanswered questions, I returned to the villa 6 months later. Marco welcomed me back with the same warm smile, though he seemed surprised to see me. "I didn't think you'd come back," he said. This time I stayed for an entire week, determined to uncover the truth. My days were spent exploring the villa's hidden corners, and my nights were filled with restless dreams of Teresa. On the third night, I experienced something I couldn't explain. As I lay in bed, I felt a hand gently touch my shoulder. Startled, I turned to find no one there. The touch was neither cold nor threatening. It felt almost comforting. The next day, Marco revealed something he hadn't told me before. "You're not the first to feel Teresa's presence," he said. "Many guests have reported similar experiences. She has a way of reaching out to those who listen." On my final day, I discovered something extraordinary. While exploring the villa's basement, I stumbled upon a hidden door concealed behind a stack of old wine barrels. The door was heavy and locked, but with Marco's help, I managed to open it. Inside was a small chamber filled with artifacts, letters, paintings, and an ornate chest. The air was thick with dust, and yet everything inside seemed strangely untouched by time. The letters were the most revealing. They were written by Teresa to her lover, a man named Alessandro. Through her words, I learned of their secret meetings in the gardens and their dreams of escaping together. But what struck me most was her final letter, written just days before her death. "They have forbidden us, Alessandro, but my heart will never obey. If I cannot be with you in life, I will find you in death." That night I had a dream, or perhaps it was a vision. I found myself standing in the villa's grand hall, but it wasn't the hall as I knew it. It was vibrant, alive with light and laughter. Teresa was there, dressed in a stunning gown, her hair adorned with flowers. She was dancing with a man who could only be Alessandro. Their joy was palpable, their love undeniable. But then the scene shifted. The music faded, the lights dimmed, and the joy turned to despair. Teresa was dragged away by her family, her cries echoing through the hall. Alessandro was left alone, his face a mask of anguish. I woke up in a cold sweat, the vision still fresh in my mind. It was as if the villa itself had shown me its memories, sharing Teresa's pain and longing. Before leaving the villa, I visited Teresa's gravestone one last time. This time, I brought flowers. a gesture of respect and gratitude for the story she had shared with me. As I stood there, I felt a warmth envelop me, as if the sun had broken through the clouds, and then, for the briefest moment, I saw her. Teresa, standing by the gravestone, her face serene, and her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice as soft as the wind. And just like that, she was gone. The Villa di Corliano remains a place of mystery, beauty, and heartbreak. For those who visit, it offers more than just a glimpse into the past. It offers a connection to the spirits who still call it home. As for me, I carry Teresa's story with me, a reminder that love and loss are eternal, and that some bonds are too strong to be broken, even by death.